Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR, HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Pretty important in all things in beauty. Welcome to RadioAMB, designed for those who like to live a long and vibrant life. I'm Patty Smucker. I'm a licensed cosmetologist, and I've been in the beauty industry for over 40 years. RadioAMB, which stands for American Made Beauty, is where we tell the secrets behind the making of health and beauty products. Our segment sponsor today is AmericanMadeBeauty.com, and it's a beauty platform that's designed to help consumers find beauty companies that are implementing the best practices to bring you quality products and services. Go to AmericanMadeBeauty.com and check out our new e-commerce site. Some of you may know that I recently fell and injured my ankle, so I've been laid up for at least a month. The interesting thing about injuries and health crises is that one has to stop and pay immediate attention. Many believe that there are no accidents and that this injury to my leg signifies a spiritual opportunity to grow. My two guests are women who are intimate with this type of opportunity. At the top of the hour, you're going to meet Royce Morales, an author and developer of Perfect Life Awakening, a spiritual-based experimental inner-makeover seminar series that creates profound personal transformation. For over 3 decades, she's been offering her empowering techniques to thousands, accelerating self-discovery and growth in an intimate group setting. During the show, you'll hear about her inner makeover work and how the journey as a caregiver to her husband after a stroke has inspired a new book. During the last segment of our show today, you'll meet Theda, Vallee, an author, blogger, and all-around kick-ass girl living in the Pacific Northwest. She channeled her rain-induced delirium into a weekly blog that's hilarious, honest, and sassy. When she's not spreading her opinions like glitter across the Internet, Theda is working on editing her first full-length novel. So let's get started. Royce Morales, I'm just thrilled to have you with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Patty. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, so let's start out. A spiritual path is always one of intrigue. Tell us a little bit about how that started for you.
Well, it all started when I was quite young, actually. I started asking questions and drove my mother crazy because she couldn't answer the questions that I was asking. So I basically started researching and reading books, taking philosophy in college, and just asking anybody I could, what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? What's it all about? Alfie, that sort of thing. And I found a lot of it was, kind of answering a little bit here and there, but it was all kind of just heady. It wasn't useful. It wasn't something I could apply in my day-to-day life. I started doing seminars. This is back in the 70s when, everybody was doing EST and LifeSpring and all of that stuff. So I did all of them, and I found that some of the transformation that I experienced would last for a little while, and then I would come home and I'd yell at my son. It just wouldn't stick. And it was very frustrating to me, very frustrating. And so I just kind of said, well, maybe I'm just going to have to figure out my own answers and come up with my own way of dealing with life, because obviously there's something missing from all of this stuff. So, that's pretty much my spiritual journey. And then in the middle of all that, I was approached by a woman who was involved in an organization that I was involved in, and she said, you seem to know a lot of stuff. Would you consider teaching me? And I thought she was crazy. I really did. And
that's the way it always happens.
Pardon?
I said, isn't that the way it always happens?
Yes.
Something like, really, I could do that.
Yeah, well, no, actually, in my head, all I heard was, she's crazy, she's nuts, I don't know anything, this is insane. And out of my mouth, it was one of those defining moments in my life, but out of my mouth came, sure, I'd love to bring some of your friends and we'll do a little class. And so she did, and that was, 37 years ago, and it's been that way ever since. And I have to say that all of the training and all the reading and all the research I did, it sort of was a little springboard for me, but it basically where I learned the most was by teaching, where I literally had to sit in a room, not know what in the hell I was going to say, and words would come out, and people would ask questions, and I'd have to figure out the answers, and that's pretty much how it happened. And I discovered so many things by teaching that really became my own way of learning. I would write notes when people would leave. I'd write down all the things that I said that were profound. Wow, I have to remember that one. That's basically how it happened. It was very intuitive. It was very spontaneous. I feel as though I was channeling a lot. Things would come to me that I would have no concept of at all, but they would just come out of my mouth. So, that's pretty much my story.
And it's interesting because when I suggested to my team that we would be having a conversation about this, the question everyone asked was, well, how does that relate to beauty? And I think the whole idea that being able to work on beauty from the inside out, it really is definitely soul deep. And so tell us how that progressed, your teaching progressed to develop what you're calling the perfect life awakening. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, going back to what you said, that beauty comes from within, one of my very earliest students was this incredibly beautiful, striking woman. I mean, she could have been a model, and yet she would sit in the class all the time, and if somebody would comment about her beauty, she would always respond by saying, oh, no, I'm just so mousy. And I started to realize that no matter what you look like on the outside or what your life looks like, there's something entirely different going on the inside. And until you resolve that, you can't even see that you're beautiful. You just can't. And, and actually continuing with the example of that woman, this is even before I knew what spiritual integration work meant. I found myself asking her a bunch of questions, and some of the work that I was starting to do in the beginning involved meditation and guided meditation. And as I was guiding this woman in meditation, when she came out of the meditation, she shared with the group that she remembered something that had happened at the moment that she was born. And she literally had a lucid memory of the doctor saying, oh, look, she looks like a little mouse. And from that point on, she believed that she was mousy. And that really was one of the again, defining moments where I understood the power of things that happen that we're not even conscious of, and how resolving them can really shift your life. And literally from that point on, she could accept her beauty and she could see her magnificence. So, it all relates. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And so the work that led to how did you develop the Perfect Life Awakening?
Well, like I said, it was pretty much, it sort of just evolved from watching my students, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't work. There were a lot of things that I would try to do with a class that wouldn't work at all, and there were some where I kind of stepped back and listened to my own inner guidance. There were some things that worked really powerfully. One of the things that I learned very profoundly, and this, I think, happened in the first year of teaching. And by the way, all my students arrived word of mouth. I never advertised, so it was always interesting, the people that would kind of arrive on my doorstep. And I was teaching at my home, but I would have a class that would arrive, and I would suddenly realize, oh my gosh, this class all has the same issue going on, whether it be everybody had an alcoholic father, or everybody was abused, or everybody had money issues, or whatever it was. There was always some common theme. And what I started to realize was these groups were literally arriving in my life to teach me something that I needed to learn about myself, because I would find myself saying things to them that I really needed to say to myself. So I actually coined a term that I now use all the time. Any one of my students will tell you, oh my gosh, that's all Royce talks about. But I call it mirroring, because there's parts of us that we're in denial of. We've suppressed. We've learned to avoid them. We've learned to pretend that we're a different way. And people arrive in our lives to literally wake us up to those parts that we're in denial of. So I call them mirrors because, that's literally what they are. And the problem with mirrors is we don't like to look at them ever. Sorry, those of you in the beauty industry, we don't like to look at that type of mirror because it really exposes all that we've spent, lives and years and decades learning to suppress and deny and avoid. So, but I couldn't deny it when I'd have these people that literally were showing up in my life that were trying to teach me something about myself through their own journey.
But it's also a bit of a mindset, Royce, in that knowing that someone is showing up and that there is a lesson, that there's something to be learned. As I mentioned at the beginning, my falling and hurting myself, but there's a lesson to be learned. That sort of you evolve to a point in which you begin to see the world in that way. Tell us how your training helps people to begin to see the world in that way.
Well, I give a lot of information in the classes that shows people that. But I do find that the best way, there's two good ways. The first way is for me to share my own life experiences where people can say, oh, gosh, yeah, I've had similar things happen to me, and they can see it in that way. They can shift and see that it's, not that you just broke your foot, there was some spiritual lesson behind it. But honestly, and I always warn people about my classes in day one, that when you start doing this kind of work, it's almost like the universe says, okay, get ready because here it comes. And people start having things happen so that they can wake up. And they don't have to be dramatic, but they can certainly be awakening. I've had a lot of dramatic things because it takes a lot to wake me up, but some people, it's a little bit easier. They don't have to be hit over the head like I've had to be. But, yeah, it really comes down to learning to be conscious, learning to be mindful, observant, and looking at everything that happens as a potential lesson, which is a potential awakening. So that's pretty much how they get it, And a lot of it comes from the inner work that we do in the class. I developed some inner processes. They're experiential, not experimental, by the way. You call them experimental. That's okay. It's all experimental, too. But there's some experiential processes that we do in a meditative state where people are literally getting in touch with things like that woman that remembered the doctor saying she was mousy. So there's so much stuff back there that we're just not conscious of that have made massive impacts on how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive life and how we define everything that happens to us. So I help people get in touch with that so they can really resolve it and let it go and not have that program running their life anymore.
So can you share with us some key aspects of the inner process techniques that help people to uncover and uncover and resolve some of those subconscious fear-based programming?
Well, like I said, it's basically a meditative technique, and I just teach people that, once you relax and you get into that meditative state, you can access all of that. And it's a matter of learning to trust it. It's a matter of, the woman that found out that the doctor said she was mousy, if she had said, oh, my gosh, that's silly, that couldn't have happened, or what impact could that have made in my life? But she didn't. She, I had taught her to trust that those thoughts or those memories or those even just sensing are really important. When people meditate and when they get in touch with these things, sometimes they show up as images or thoughts or physical sensations or looking through a photograph album. I had one student that every time she would meditate, she would see images of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And it was a funny thing. We would all laugh because we were prepared for her to share this meditation about Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And when she finally realized that she was one of 3 children and that Huey, Dewey, and Louie were symbolic of her and her 2 siblings, she realized that there was an incredible message behind what they were trying to say to her. So it can even come symbolically. There's all kinds of ways that this kind of stuff can happen.
Are you finding that more people are seeking this type of help given the hostile climate of the world right now?
I think in the last decade or so, people have been really hungry for it. I think that in our world, people are discovering that the materialistic, the attitude that if I get this new car, I'm going to be happy, or if I get in this relationship, it's going to fulfill me. I think people are starting to see that doesn't work, and you can only get there when you get there. So I think, like I said, this last 10 years or so, there's been a real upsurge in people hungering for this kind of awareness. I do find that nowadays, because people are being thrown into such confusion and hopelessness and anger and fear and what do we do, the political climate is certainly bringing people to their knees, so to speak. And I think that because of that, people are also really hungering for it. So I think it's starting to maybe be a little bit more, they might be looking for the spiritual food, but I think they're taking that and hopefully doing something with it, which is, hopefully that we'll be able to get more into that in our discussion, because I think that's so imperative, because I think before a lot of people would take the information and go, oh, wow, well, now I can just sit and meditate and all is good and, it's all perfect and it's all, love and all that wonderful spiritual stuff. But again, like I experienced personally, that's all good. But when you come home and you're yelling at your kid or you're flipping people off on the freeway, there's something more that we need to do with that. So yeah, I do think that people are definitely hungry for it. I think people are wanting, the freedom and the peace and the understanding, the bigger picture of why is this going on. So yeah, definitely.
And it's interesting that your reference to those little things in terms of you can go and have this awareness, you can go and do a meditative process and begin to have meditation be part of your daily ritual. And it's the ongoing, consistent work like that begins to show up in little ways where you have those feelings of delight and joy that permeate all aspects of your life. Mm-hmm. And just the opposite occurs when you're not doing that spiritual growth. And yet people sort of miss that. They don't really see that it's that inner work that really becomes evident in being angry or reacting to your kids. And sometimes I think people sort of tend to miss that. Do you find that, and do you find it difficult to get people to really make the investment in the inner work to be able to see it show up in the outer work?
Absolutely. That's always been my challenge, because I don't do anything on a superficial level in my classes. I just jump right in, and I lose a lot of students, I must admit, because some people do think that we're going to sit around and, contemplate our navel and talk about how it's all good. But I require, or I request, encourage that people do a lot of serious inner work in order to get the stuff to stick. Like I said, I started out my journey just learning really good spiritual ways to fake it through life.
Right.
If something negative would happen, I'd say, well, it's all good, or I'll forgive, or whatever or let it go. That all of those spiritual cliches, I was expert at them, but I found myself, my stomach would hurt, or I'd feel depressed all day, or I'd cry easily, or I'd be yelling at my husband for no reason. And I found that by doing the inner work and really getting to the core and the sources of some of these issues, you can be in that state in a permanent way. You can look at life from an authentic place of positivity and trust and love. So yeah, it's hard to get people to stick to this work. It's kind of like an exercise program. You go to the gym and you work out and you think, okay, I'm done for the day, but you've got to do it every day, and not people are not committed to doing that.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. That's the hardest part of that long-term health, whether it's internal health or external health, is that it is continuity and every day matters. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about how spiritual work, that inner work, can play a part in what's going on politically and how we all digest the external world. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easier for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
What does HealthyLife.net and Amazon.com have in common? Well, they're both available on the Internet. They both give great value. But most important, most of our positive program hosts and guests are accomplished authors, and their books are available from, you got it, Amazon.com. Now, it even gets better than that, because when you're listening on air to a HealthyLife.net host or guest, you can go directly to Amazon.com, and you can order your book while you're still listening to your favorite HealthyLife.net program. So when you hear an author you like, go to the homepage of HealthyLife.net and click on Amazon.com.
Where positive people and radio unite. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back. You're listening to RadioAMB on HealthyLife.net. I'm Patty Smucker, your host, and I have Royce Morales is with us. She's an author and a teacher, and we've been talking about spiritual growth and what are some of the tools that we can use in order to be able to deal with the world that we're living in today. Royce, specifically, I'm wondering, is it possible to be spiritual and political at the same time?
I absolutely believe that it is. I have always been, well, I shouldn't say always. There was a brief time where I let go of all of my activism. When I first started my spiritual growth, I thought, oh, good, now I just have to meditate and chant and visualize and do all of that fun spiritual stuff, and I don't have to be out there in, peace marches. I'm a child of the 60s, I must admit, and I was a very active anti-war person in the Vietnam War, and I brought that attitude with me. So it was a really difficult thing to let go of that, need to protest and need to, express my political opinion everywhere I went. But yeah, I think that they both have the same goals. They might be going about it in different ways, but I think ultimately spirituality and politics both want the same things. They want people to, feel healthy and supported and safe and experience freedom and, all of that stuff that they're both really espousing. So, yeah, I definitely do think it's possible. I think that we need to shift in major ways in order to make some political changes, however, because, clearly it's not really working the way that we're trying to do it. And I have a lot of thoughts as to why that is. Did you want me to go into that now? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the analogy would be, and I'm going to give a couple of examples, too. The analogy would be, actually, one of the things that led me to understand that is Mother Teresa, who talked a lot about being politically and spiritually active, and she said that she would never go on an anti-war march, but she would go on a peace march. And it might be the same. It might look the same on the outside, but it has a completely different intention behind it. One would be, we hate war and we are going to resist war. The other is, we are embracing peace and we desire peace. And they're two very different energies. I look at everything in terms of energy, and I know that if we're coming from a place of, I hate this, it's never going to change. It has to come from a place of acceptance. I could give you a million examples, but it's just, because what's going on, if we're feeling that much hate, is that we're adding further resistance to it, and it's going to stick, because the old adage, what you resist persists, comes into play. Right. It immediately persists. It immediately grows. So whenever I hear politicians say that, we're going to bomb Korea and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, all I'm hearing is we're just making it bigger. It's just getting bigger and worse. And it's just not going to work ultimately, So and the other way that, pardon?
Go ahead.
The other way that I look at it is, as I was saying before about the concept of mirroring, if I'm feeling as though I have to stop war or I have to stop this horrible stuff that's going on the planet, what I'm really saying is there's something in me that I have to stop. So why am I so against war? Well, do I have a part of me that is what I refer to as war mentality? Do I have a tendency to, when I get angry at my child, do I have a tendency to slap that child? Or do I have a tendency to flip people off on the freeway, again, using that example? The war mentality that we have inside of us is not going to allow war on the planet to ever not exist. If I know that there is no way that I would ever do anything like that in my life, because it's just not my reality anymore, and if you can expand that and, take that into the 100th monkey and have enough people have that mentality of, well, why would we bomb Korea? I mean, that's ridiculous. Why would we even do that? That would not even be in our reality to respond in that way. That's when war is going to end. So we have to look at it first from within, see what it's mirroring to us, about us, and change that notion or change that belief or change that energy from within, so that then things can change in an external way. And I think, like I said, when enough people do that, all of that stuff will be, it won't even exist. It won't be an issue, because why would we even do that?
Right. And I love the analogy and the way that you put that. For me, the message resonates. But how do you talk to and get along with those with political views that are polar opposite from your own?
Well, it goes back to the same thing, that old mirror. See, my students would be cringing right now. Oh, God, there she goes again with the mirror. But that's what it goes down to. What is that person that is talking in a way that is politically completely divergent from your beliefs, what is it that they're mirroring to you? I have people in my family that are very politically polarized from me, and it's been very difficult. Actually, I have to admit that it's been very difficult watching what our president is doing because it's so completely opposed to how I feel about things. So I've had to really stop and look and see, okay, what is he mirroring? Okay, I might sound judgmental right now, but let's just use the example of he's telling a lot of untruths. Okay, so I'd have to look at myself and go, all right, well, where am I not telling the truth? What is that about for me? Maybe I'm not telling the truth to myself, or maybe I have this little white lie going on with my husband, or maybe I don't completely declare all of my income tax. So there might be some small element that I'm not being truthful about that he is, I call it the magnification mirror. So whatever we really need to see about ourselves, sometimes we attract, or we have people around us that, really take that baseball bat and drive it home so we can really get it. And, I kind of firmly believe that, even those tiny issues need to get resolved for us to be completely spiritual and to be completely coming from a pure, unconditionally loving place, which is why we're all here, really. That's our ultimate goal. So there are people in our lives that present these great lessons and these great mirrors so that we can wake up and say, oh, yeah, okay, And it doesn't have to always be the same. I had a student one time that her significant other was severely addicted. He, was using heroin and all kinds of heavy-duty drugs. And whenever I would talk about, mirrors, she would kind of bristle and she'd say, well, I don't get it, Royce. I don't understand. I don't know what my partner is mirroring to me because I'm, And I finally had to say to her, okay, well, what is it symbolic of to you? And she realized that he was mirroring to her the part of her that was addicted in other ways. She was addicted to chocolate chip cookies, or she was addicted to watching soap operas. So it was that kind of thing. It was a more extreme version of what she needed to see.
All right. Well, it's very compelling, and we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about this concept of mirroring and what are these lessons that we can get when we see people that make our skin bristle, which is what is going on for many of us right now in the world. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easy for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now this same technology is available to you. They have the best Earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. EarthChannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now. So come to EarthChannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call EarthChannel.com at 1-800-849-8978. That's 1-800-849-8978.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. Well, be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap steak. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
Thanks for staying with us. This is Patty Smucker, and you're listening to Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. I'm here with Royce Morales, an author and a teacher, helping people to expand and awaken on their spiritual path. And we've been talking about the current political situation and political anxiety that exists in the world today when you're dealing with someone like our president who has a tendency, and I'm going to say it right out, to not be honest, to lie in the world. And Royce, you said in our previous segment that some of that response that I'm having to it is because he is mirroring in me some things that I'm uncomfortable with, some places where I'm not being truthful or lying or that kind of thing. In that process of spiritual growth, I go through that process and recognize where that dishonesty may exist within me. What do I do with that? How does that make it any easier to digest a leader of our country that is behaving in the manner that he is?
That is the $6 million question that my students always ask. And my answer to that, I've got two answers to that. The first one is when I find myself butting heads with somebody, if I can stop long enough and get in touch with what is really going on, what they're mirroring to me, what they're trying to desperately show me about myself that I'm in denial of, the minute I can recognize that and acknowledge that to myself, the whole energy shifts. And what I find is that not only does it shift in me, and this is it sounds a little woo-woo, but it also shifts in them. A quick example, my husband used to get just raging over the littlest of things. I would come home and we'd, be talking about something, and the next thing I know, he'd be so angry that he'd be, sticking his fist through the wall. And this was in our first year of marriage. And I had never been with somebody that was angry like that, so I didn't know what to do. And I tried to change him, and I tried to reason with him, and I would try to, I walk out of the door a lot of times, and I would do everything that, that I would try to do to get him to see how silly his anger was or whatever. And finally I realized, okay, he's mirroring something to me. What is that about? And what I got in touch with was I had been raised by people that did not believe in expressing anger. I never saw my mother angry, ever. And whenever my dad was angry, he'd walk out the door. So there was never any expression of anger. So what he was mirroring to me was all of my suppressed anger for, 35 years of suppressed anger. And when I got in touch with that and realized that's what was going on and resolved it within by some of the processing work that I did, he suddenly stopped being angry, and it was almost miraculous. And I call that, I have another funny name for things, I call that seesawing. So if you push down one side of a seesaw, the other side has to come up. So I was pushing down my anger, and his anger was coming up multiplied. So, basically that's what I did. And in answer to your question, yeah, it works in that way, in almost a magical way. So if you can imagine a lot of us doing that on the planet, I absolutely believe that it can shift things around. We won't need somebody like Donald Trump to be mirroring all of that stuff to us. He's just a huge magnification mirror for all of us to get some pretty big lessons, whether it be the war mentality like we were talking about, or lying, or, the need for approval, the judgmentalness, the demonization of other people. All of that stuff is stuff that we are doing either to others or to ourselves. So, you know, once we get it, things can start to shift.
Well, it sounds like a fairly unprecedented lesson to be gained at this particular time.
Yeah.
And so, are there at this time? Are there you're writing right now? Tell us a little bit about your writing and some ways that people can learn more about your techniques.
I have 2 published books. The first one it's a fictionalized journey of a spiritual teacher whose name shall remain anonymous that learned all kinds of lessons in the process of discovering her soulmate. And it talks about soulmates are not what you think they are. They're our biggest mirrors a lot of times. And it gives kind of an experiential understanding of the work that I do in a fictionalized way. I think it's a really good way to kind of get your teeth into some of the teachings that I present. The other one is called Know, K-N-O-W, A Spiritual Wake-Up Call. That one is a non-fictional book, and that talks very specifically, step by step, some of the stuff that I teach. It only goes through probably maybe 10 or 15 weeks of what I teach. But, again, if you want more of an informational book, and it actually has little exercises at the end of each chapter, and it goes into a lot of depth with a lot of examples and a lot of true-to-life stories of what people learn from this stuff and how they apply it and all of that. That one I would recommend reading. The third book that I'm working on right now talks about my husband's stroke. He had a stroke 3 years ago, and that's been my biggest spiritual challenge and biggest lesson because it's really forced me to live 24/7 with having to apply what I've been teaching for, almost 40 years and apply it on a day-to-day level. And it's been really, really enlightening to me. I started writing little blogs when he first got admitted to the hospital, and people would respond to these blogs, and I would have hundreds of people, ask me and comment and, put their little like marks next to it, and people were waiting for my next little adventure, all that I was learning from this experience. So it kind of goes through how to be a spiritual caregiver and the lessons that we can learn from being in a situation like that in our lives. And again, it was really put in my face that, how authentic am I with this stuff? Can I really apply this to being with somebody that, is basically helpless? So, yeah, I would. That one should be out, I would say, maybe 6 months to a year.
And so as you've gone through your journey, and certainly there's been the aspect of the spiritual awakening, but also writing about it. How has the writing journey been, and what would you recommend to a new author about writing a book?
All of my books took years. The first one, and I didn't give the title, it's called Want, True Love, Past Lives, and Other Complications. That book took probably 20 years for me to write because, I was very busy. I owned a retail store as well as full-time teaching and all the other stuff that I was doing. And the other one I would say took, maybe 10 years. And I think the other one, because it really tried to consolidate my teachings, it was kind of difficult to put it into a book format. So my biggest advice is don't give up, and if it feels as though this is what you're supposed to do with whatever it is that you're learning and going through, do it. Do not give up. I know that at the end of my life I would have looked back and said, darn it, I wish I'd written those books. So it's important. Right. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for being with us. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and connect, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, my website is www.contentintentcopy.com, and they can certainly reach me there. I guess you'll be putting my links up on your site as well.
Yes. All right. Great. Well, thank you, Royce, for taking some time to share with us your learning. I'm eager to continue to stay in touch and hope to look more deeply into the mirrors.
Thank you so much, Patty, and thank you, everybody, for listening and looking at those mirrors.
All right. Take care and have a great day.
You too.
And we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll meet with Theda, Vallee, another author and blogger. So stay with us.
Here's the thing about beauty. It's pretty. At AmericanMadeBeauty.com, we're all about the pretty, making it easier for you to find what makes your beauty shine. We have essentially everything you need, and AmericanMadeBeauty.com celebrates brands that were created right here in the U.S. of A. Imagine everything you need from the best hair, skin, and nail products to makeup and even the tools, because it's all about pretty at AmericanMadeBeauty.com. We also think you're pretty important, so visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com. Browse, buy, learn. AmericanMadeBeauty.com.
When you're looking for bedding, department store prices can shock you. Well, be shocked no more. Sell steak cheap, not cheap state. That's the motto of Anna's Linens. Although they don't sell steak, they do sell the best bedding, bath, and home decor items. They strive to provide their merchandise at extreme value to their customers, and they do it. Great everyday prices on everything and military discounts. Plus, if you visit them online, they have clearance items and internet specials. Visit them online now at HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
We're looking for a few good American beauty manufacturers who want to increase their brand in an exclusive credentialed category. If you're an American company who has conceived, designed, and bottled brands that are all about pretty, then we're pretty sure we're talking about you. And we're pretty sure you should be on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. This beauty website focuses on entrepreneurs and beauty startups as well as established brands. If it's pretty, we want to see it, and we want to sell it on AmericanMadeBeauty.com. To learn how you can be part of AmericanMadeBeauty.com, visit AmericanMadeBeauty.com now.
Oh, man, it never fails. My suitcase just got ripped apart.
Life is a journey. Make it a pleasant one. Use Samsonite. You know the name. For almost a century, Samsonite luggage has proved itself to be the worldwide leader in innovative travel solutions. Let it be yours. Visit HealthyLife.net's affiliate Samsonite on our homepage and click to look at the fine luggage from suitcases to golf travel bags. And don't forget, take a look at their travel accessories. Make life a journey, a pleasant one, with Samsonite.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Welcome back. You're listening to Radio AMB on HealthyLife.net. This is Patty Smucker, and I'm delighted to welcome our second guest today, Theda Vallee. She is an author and a blogger, and I'm just really enjoying reading her sassy work. So welcome, Theda. I'm just delighted to have you with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Patty. I am so excited to be here. And I'm so glad you're enjoying my blogs. They're not for everybody, so.
So tell us a little bit about how you started writing.
Oh, you know, from the time I was tiny, I told stories. My parents called it lying, but I called it telling stories. And my mom still tells the story of when I was 4 years old and I walked in the house and pretended I had amnesia for hours because I'd heard the word. And so, you know, to keep myself from getting in trouble, I started channeling that into actually writing stories, and I've been doing it, you know, from a very young age. I wrote some screenplays when I was in my early 20s and kind of put it all on the back shelf until you know, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, hey, what am I doing? Why am I not writing anymore? And picked back up where I left off and haven't stopped since.
That's great. And so tell us, what are some of the themes of your novels? Because you're in the process of writing your first novel, I understand.
I am. It is book one in a planned 5-book series. And I have an obsession with anything supernatural. So I love witches and vampires and obviously a big fan of things like True Blood. And so when I started sitting down to write, I come from an Italian family on both sides. My husband's family is Italian. My step-family's Italian. And it kind of really tickled me to see some of the old world things that people did, like how they were still wearing the Italian horn to ward themselves from the evil eye. And I started doing research, and I just found it was so rife with so much interesting stories and mythology that it really just got my mind running. And so I decided to write about Italian witch family.
That's great. And do you have a working title?
I do. It's called Stir Until Petrified. And basically it's about a woman, and her name is Etta Masoni, and she's living in a sleepy kind of seaside town. And she's kind of healing from some things that have happened in her life, but she has a really amazing support system with her Italian family, who are overbearing and loving, feed her spaghetti and try and get her to move on with her life. But they just happen to be witches. And, until, one day something happens to where people are being paralyzed in their sleep and they're being trapped in the dream world, and her being a witch, she's the number one suspect, and a secret organization comes into town and kind of thrusts her and her whole family into a world of magic that they weren't ready to jump into. And I wanted to have these 5 women be the multifaceted and multi-layered individuals that women are, because I don't see enough of that, I think, in literature. And so I wanted us to show these 5 women getting together and getting out into the world and doing amazing things, but still being the flawed, amazing human beings that each of us are. Right.
And so why do this? What are you learning in the process of doing the writing?
It's, for one, especially with my blog, I'm really connecting with other human beings. It's amazing to see the interaction that I get. And so if for nothing else, I'm just learning, how to connect on a whole different level with people that I never expected to be able to do, and just, hear their thoughts and their opinions on a whole different level than people are willing to share with you face to face. But then it's also learning for myself that, we don't always have to do the practical thing in life. Writing's not supposed to be a real job, according to people, and I'm kind of tired of hearing that. So I've learned that you can buck that trend and just forge forward regardless.
Well, and that's certainly one of the benefits of this generation, where you have that opportunity to be an author and to connect with people. The technology has allowed you to be able to do that. In addition to connecting with people, was there something else that you really love about this journey?
Well, I feel like I'm getting to be an advocate for a lot of people. I think I talked to you before that I'm a thyroid cancer survivor and actually still going through that process, and utilizing my blog and my voice with that, I've been able to really start advocating for people, and that makes you feel really empowered when you've gone through something like cancer, to be able to be the voice that's helping other people guide through that process and advocate for them when they don't necessarily have the means to advocate for themselves when they're starting out that journey.
Yeah, and it's really wonderful to be able to share what you're learning. Oftentimes in that sharing, you learn that you're not alone, that other people are sort of going through similar types of experiences.
Yeah, cancer is it's a very lonely disease sometimes, and so it really helps to have that connectivity.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you stay motivated when you're having those tough days?
Let's see, coffee. So much coffee. But it's a battle, because all of us, I think, have that voice in the back of our head that's like, what are you doing? Why do you think you can do this? What makes you think anybody wants to listen to you? Do that. And so I really have a phenomenal community around me of people that just love and support me and lift me up, so that when I'm having one of those days, I can send a text message, or I can, call somebody and just be like, okay, I'm having a meltdown. I'm thinking about deleting everything on my computer and running away. Tell me I'm not crazy. And so it really helps to have that phenomenal community.
And what's ahead? So you're how often are you blogging, and when do you anticipate releasing the novel?
Yeah, I blog 3 days a week, so you can go to my Facebook page or to my website, ThedaValley.com, and I release blogs on Monday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I don't even know what I'm doing. But Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I release new blogs, and they're always about, I love fashion and makeup and anything pop culture or anything I see in the news that happens to strike my fancy. I have an opinion on usually, so what I'll usually be blogging about. And then we have the big push to get the book published as of January 31st, 2018. And so we'll be doing a lot of exciting things leading up to that. Right now, though, people can go on to my blog. The first 4 chapters are there just for everybody to get a sneak peek. And there'll actually be 2 to 3 more chapters being released leading up to the launch, just so people can kind of dive into the world of witchy goodness I have going on there and see what it's all about.
That's so cool. And are you having fun?
Oh, my gosh. I can't even tell you how much fun I'm having. I sit and, type and have conversations with myself, so I look like an absolutely insane person. Scenes. And I just absolutely love it, and it gives me the passion and the courage to get up every single day and just say, I'm going to do something amazing today. And,
right.
Whether it's real or not, it's all, something I've never done before.
Right. Well, congratulations, and thanks for being a great example. I mean, as we talked in the earlier part of the show about the spiritual journey that we go through, and this process of going through a medical crisis, that it often is that opportunity to have that spiritual lesson, and I know that you're definitely going through that. So congratulations, and stay in touch with us so that we can hear how things unfold.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you so much for having me, Patty. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, and you can go on our site to get more information about Theda Vallee's book and blog, and we'll have all of her links there. So that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for joining us, and make sure to dial in next week, where we'll have Laura Kusek of Family Face Reality Clinic, who took her passion for skin to build a multi-million-dollar acne-focused company. I'm Patty Smucker. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Thanks for listening to Radio AMB, where we think pretty is pretty important in all things in beauty.